Blog Talk Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this broadcast of conversations about your Kundalini awakening experiences and what may come to you and what may have already have come to you. I'd like to welcome you. My name is Chrism, and I've advertised this program on a few different groups today, different ones that I normally do. So if you're coming from one of those groups, welcome to this program. And I'm just going to dive right in. One of the topics within the Kundalini awakening experience that's come into my awareness today is how do you survive inside of the egotistical society and have Kundalini, which is very anti-ego. And as we have been doing in the past few shows now, as you stand at the base of your silver and gold translucent Kundalini pyramid, that pyramid that has steps that go all the way around the perimeter of the pyramid, and the top of the pyramid disappears into the clouds. Well, as you're on that first step and perhaps even looking at the second step, you're looking at what it is to survive in the physical world where you have children, you have traffic jams, you have bills to pay, you have perhaps a career to support. And let me tell you, this will not go equal across the board with everyone. Even though you have Kundalini and you have Kundalini as a great unification moment, as you have the spinal sweep and you go into the heavenly domain, still there is your particular karmic Kundalini equation. And not all of these equations are going to reflect the same thing. And so as you contemplate this and you walk to the right around that base step of your Kundalini pyramid, as you contemplate that and you look off to your left and you see the land of ego, the land of opportunity, where the ego is given the opportunity to clear itself of its attachments and its baggage and its perhaps, shall we say, its challenging aspects of itself. And you look to the right and you see that pyramid that you're walking around. So as you do that and you look at this, you have to understand that your karma is peculiar to you. It is a very, very intense layer of prima materia, you might say, the primal materia, or the first material of your life and how your life is to be lived. Because as we have come into this world with the Kundalini, we do have the challenges of karma to be cleared. We do have the challenges of what we have done in the past that flavors our current Kundalini experience. And even though Kundalini has come up to you, and that it is in itself an extremely rare event, even though that is happening, it doesn't immediately refuse you of the karmic opportunities that you are being given in order to come into a greater level of clarity with your Kundalini awakening. And for the people that may have just be joining us either by phone or at the chat room or in the archives, Kundalini, as we are speaking of it here, is the dormant energy in the base of the spine, at the last three vertebrae of the spine, and within a certain frequency of experience and activity, that energetic comes up through the tailbone, infuses the entire pelvic girdle, and sweeps up the spinal cord, all the way coming out the top of the head, coming out the fontanelle on the top of the head, and actually fountaining out the fontanelle, which is where the fontanelle even got its name. And this is the Kundalini activation and awakening as we're discussing it here in this program. This isn't Reiki Kundalini. This isn't Kundalini Yoga. Those modalities are for people that are still, learning about energetics and striving to awaken energetics from an egotistic reference point. We're not doing that here. Within the Kundalini awakening, it's very, very much a tribulation and a test upon the egotistic attachments and emotional expressions that the ego likes to participate in. So just wanted to make that clear for all the new people that may be listening. So as you come into the Kundalini sweeps up your spine, which is what we call a spinal sweep. Here you are, you're in either the activated stage or the awakened phase. Awakened if you've had a spinal sweep, activated if you're building towards that spinal sweep, but you have the Kundalini guiding you. Here you are, surrounded by the egotistical world, and you have to survive in here somehow. You have to walk that balance beam, and in many cases, you have to walk that tightrope of interaction with the egotistical human environment, but also with the sacred, divine, feminine environment, that which some people would refer to as Mother Nature. Mother Nature being, an example of life and the creation of life and the nurturing of life on this world. And it doesn't necessarily jive well with the egotistic human world. In many cases, as we're seeing in our world right now, it is the human ego society that is chewing away at the Mother Nature by use of pesticides, by use of greed-based farming techniques, by use of medical expertise that is based upon egocentric paradigms of want of gain or fear of loss, and the same with the scientific world as well. And so we see that encroaching on the sacred mother, which is this planet. And, we are given the opportunity to look at that right now and go, maybe, just maybe, there's another way of doing this, of living this life without having to immerse oneself into the cesspool of egocentric, idealistic thinking. And yet sometimes that's exactly what you have to do. Kundalini is not easy. It can be. If you come into it and you're definitely meant to come into it, well, it comes into you, and then you merely have to surrender or agree with its presence within you. And that can be very beautiful, very loving, very warm feeling, very excited and energetic, and a feeling of serene excitement and a feeling of intense levels of love to the point where bliss comes to you throughout your day. And so, this is an area that I would like as many people as possible to be able to come into. So as you walk around that pyramid to the right and you see the ego-centric world off to your left, I want you to consider what it is you're doing right now. What is your job? Is it being a housewife? Is it raising the children, keeping the house clean, buying the food, paying the bills, these types of responsibilities? Is it being a father or a head of the household where you're out there in the middle of the society, the ego society, and you're doing your job, you're making the money, you're traveling to and fro, you're a truck driver, you're a doctor, you're a scientist, a teacher, a warehouse person, a taxi driver, what have you. You are inside of society with Kundalini activated or awakening, and you're struggling to maintain your balance as the Kundalini tells you one thing and society tells you something completely different. What do you do? How do you discern? I'm going to counsel you to listen to the Kundalini first. Listen to the Kundalini. If the Kundalini tells you to quit your job, well then, you can rest assured that there's another job lined up. If you are head of household and you're responsible for a family, or you're responsible for for the life existence of other people, that's one thing. If you're a single person and the Kundalini tells you to quit your job, say at the radioactive nuclear power plant, you may just want to listen to the Kundalini and say, well, maybe I've had enough curies for my lifetime, and follow her guidance and look for something that may not be so damaging to the physical body. Your physical body is extremely important. This is what is changed into the physical divine, the demigod, the demigoddess, which is the end point within the physical venue, which is the end point of what the Kundalini is here to bring. So as you travel around your pyramid and you're looking out at that and you're thinking about what it is you're doing, how do you discern what Kundalini is saying to you? Typically, it doesn't give you the words. Okay, it will not talk to you in English, and it typically won't talk to you in a way that is of a language that you do not currently speak or understand. Not saying that it can't. I'm just saying that it typically doesn't. Lots of people will receive images and visions, and these visions will typically be orchestrated by one of the animal species, like a lion or a tiger or a spider or a serpent or a wolf or a honeybee or a bumblebee or a wasp or a praying mantis. Top of the food chain predatorial species are typically what the Shakti will, the sacred feminine, which is what I'm calling Shakti, Kundalini, the sacred feminine, Mother Nature, is typically what Mother Nature will come to a person that's having Kundalini as. And a vision will be created around that person or around that creature, showing you a certain level of information, and you'll understand. You'll understand it. If you don't understand it, I want you to feel free to contact me at KFireForAll. That's all one word, KFireForall at yahoo.com. And give me your dream, and we'll see what the Kundalini in me is discerning for you that the communication is being given. On the other hand, if you're working in society right now and you're not happy with your job because it's boring, but it's bringing in the money, it's keeping the family together, it's keeping your rent paid, food in the fridge, it's keeping gas in the car if you have a car, and yet you're kind of bored with it, and you're not feeling totally satisfied with your life, and you have the Kundalini and you have these great expanses of visionary understandings coming to you, and you're feeling the energy in the spine, and it's pulsing and pushing and radiating out from you, and you just want to I just want to quit my boring, dull job and just immerse myself totally in the Kundalini, and the Kundalini may not support that. You may be purposefully put into a job that is easy for you to do, that allows you to stay stable and balanced within society, and yet for a certain part of that 24-hour period, you're going to have to be in that job. It doesn't mean that just because you're in the job, working at that manufacturing plant or seeing those patients or flying that airplane or teaching those students or cleaning out the bathrooms in a hotel or doing the housekeeping in the hotel or, farming that land. Whatever it is you're doing, you can bring the exquisite knowledge and experience of the Kundalini with you wherever you go. In many ways, she wants you to do the work to a level of excellence that you may not have experienced before. So if you're sitting on that tractor and you're putting you're planting those straight rows of crops on that field, well, now those rows are extremely straight. They're artistically straight. They're the straightest rows that have ever been. Or if you're a doctor, you're seeing patients, oh, God, you're reading their charts, which hardly any doctors do. You're reading their charts, and you're just reaching into that grace within you that expresses through you. And every time you touch that patient, or you're looking at their health, and you're just being given all this amazing information about what they can do to keep themselves healthy. If you're a dentist, the same thing. If you're a driver for a company and you're driving people around, well, you're the best driver in the world. I mean, you're literally a divine driver, et cetera, and so forth. And so you want to look at where you are within the work system that you're involved with right now, and bring the divine excellence of the Kundalini into that position. Your ego and some of the other aspects of your body, perhaps the mental mind, may want further stimulation, may want to go, oh, no, I just want to teach the Kundalini. I want to let everybody know. And this is what some of the psychologists will call the savior complex. And it's not really a savior complex. And I don't really see it that way. I see it as when the divine comes into a person, the Kundalini activation hits the person. Well, they want to help everybody come into that level of understanding. It is so good. It is so amazing. And it's hard to believe while you're inside of that maelstrom of grace that nobody else might be interested in this. It's very, very, very difficult to believe that when you're inside of these early activation attributes. It feels so good and so blessed, and it makes so much sense that you think you know that everybody wants to hear about this. They want to do it. They want to practice it. They need to hear about it. They need to hear about it from you. I understand that. But that's not typically the case. In many cases, you'll go a long ways towards alienating those people and alienating your boss and alienating yourself right out of a job. And so I suggest that you hold the verbal aspect of your yearning to help people, and let that be an unspoken quality. Let your radiance speak for you. Let the excellence that you do within your work speak for you. Don't quit the job because you want everybody to know about the Kundalini. Believe me, the Kundalini will come to those who seek her out if the Kundalini wants to come to them. Sometimes they come through Shaktipat, receiving the gift of grace from a person who can do that. Sometimes they come just naturally. It's just like a piece of heaven falls from the sky and embeds itself in somebody's heart. Sometimes it's just a level of karma, and they finally reached a specific point in their spiritual development, and wham, the Kundalini activates within them and begins the transformation process that eventually brings a level of semi-divinity into the individual experiencing this. Many people who know about the Kundalini want to experience it so badly that they'll do drugs, they'll do the craziest, exercise. One of these exercises is slamming themselves on their tailbone, from a height of like 2 feet. I mean, slamming down on that tailbone. Ouch. I don't know if anybody's ever fallen on their tailbone, but it is not a pleasant experience. And this is not the way ever that I will suggest that you try to activate or awaken the Kundalini. Not at all. But it is the way some people would like to approach it. Other people use, some sort of entheogen like ayahuasca, which is probably the safest type of natural plant mixture that a person could use. It's a mixture of the chacruna leaf and the ayahuasca vine, Banisteropsis capi, and they mix those two together, and they form what is called a jungle tea, and that tea is taken in, and it releases a level of Shakti into the bloodstream that is quite amazing and quite detoxifying. And see, that's one of the other reasons that you want to stay within the stability of your current job if you can. If the Kundalini isn't saying, oh, you need to really get out of the radioactive lab and and maybe become a plant biologist or something like that. One of the reasons is that it's safe for you to have such a destabilizing experience as Kundalini. Kundalini destabilizes the ego in a huge way. It is all the beautiful, loving, blissful qualities that I've been extolling about and mentioning and talking about. But the ego, when it comes in contact with this level of divine imperative, can freeze up. It can go straight into fear, and from fear, that fear can be amplified into terror, and from terror into a type of a frozen quality of hardship that does not need to be in place. And so you don't want to just quit your job and then go into that level of ego assault and then go, oh yeah, well I have to fill out my resume here. Keep the job that you have if you're early on in the Kundalini experience, or if you're still going through a lot of the manifestation of phenomena, the transformation, the kriyas, and if you're seeing entities and having to involve yourself with entities, it's good to have a stable position where you can kind of continue to have financial balance and pay your bills and feed the kids and put gas in the car and do these things. You're still at the same time having a strong Kundalini experience. And let's see, I'm seeing some people talking here on the on the chat groups. I'm going to read a little bit. Let's see. Let's see. I'll get to that in a little bit, Rachel and Atlantis. Okay. And so as you continue to walk that right-hand passage around the huge base step of your Kundalini pyramid that's disappearing, the top is disappearing into the clouds, you begin to understand that none of this is accidental. You are working as that data operator, putting data into the machine. I forget what they call that. It's kind of a not the most exciting kind of job where you're just putting data into a computer and just copying code and writing code and all of this stuff. Or you're the security guard, in the middle of the night, looking at an empty warehouse and going, wow, this is really dull. Which I have done, by the way. Bring that experience as a valuable format of exploring and initiating specific levels of Kundalini into the excellence of your work. So once again, I'm just going to repeat it again. Don't quit your job because you're having this amazingly beautiful Kundalini experience. And I know that for some of you, it's just going to happen anyway. It's so beautiful. It's so earth-shattering. It is so divine. It is so beyond expression that you're just going to quit. And you're just going to try to bask in the bliss, 24/7 and forget about the bills, forget about living in society, and just go straight in to that experience. And that very well may be the case for you, and that may be the thing that you have to do. But if you don't have to do that, if you've got a 3-year-old at home, if you've got a loving husband at home taking care of that 3-year-old, or a loving wife at home taking care of that 3-year-old, well, you've got to also think of them too. They are part of your Kundalini equation. And just as the Sacred Mother would never abandon you, neither do you inflict a level of abandonment upon those who are dependent upon you. So I wanted to put that out there. It's very important for you to listen to the Sacred Mother. And as I mentioned before, very often the Kundalini will come to you as the Sacred Feminine in a vision. And in that vision, she will be giving you different opportunities that are presenting themselves. She may speak to you in a vision, well, it's okay for you because you're single and you're not really attached to anything. Perhaps, you've been working through the Kundalini activation for a while, a couple of years, and you've been blessed with the financial wherewithal to be private, to be within silence, to be isolated from society, and yet still within society. And the Sacred Mother may come to you and in a vision kind of give you the communication that, okay, it is okay for you to go to such and such or to somewhere and to initiate this type of a process. That's fine. That's fine. And you can act on that, and, you're in a position where you can do it. But if you're raising, 8 kids or 4 kids or 2 kids or even 1 kid, you've got to think of them in the equation, and so will the Kundalini. And she'll come to you within the personification of Kundalini. I've mentioned some of the animals that the Sacred Mother will take the form of, but I also want to mention some categories of human femininity that she may also take the vision of. And that one is the crone, the elder woman, the grandmother. And she may come to you, just this wise little old lady, and she may just be sitting on a bench, and you may come sit next to her inside of your vision. This is a waking vision, ladies and gentlemen. This is not a dream. This is not a daydream. This is a waking vision. And she may sit you down, and she may say things like, here, you might want to try that apple orchard over there. And as you eat that apple, you may receive a gift from that which has created the apple. And then, boom, it's gone. And then you're looking for the apple. And, you need to start looking for a place like a market, like a supermarket where there are apples there in the bin. And maybe even get the apple and take a bite of the apple and contemplate the words she says. And as you do that, a level of information may be downloaded straight into your head. Boom. This is fairly common within the Kundalini context. You get very, very specific downloads about what you should do. And it doesn't mean that she's going to be there, putting the silver spoon in your mouth and going, okay, now you got to turn right. And then when you get to that stop sign, you got to turn left. And then you got to wear a red tie for work today. And make sure you wear these pants and make sure you eat that food. She's not going to, lead you by the ear. She's not here to tell you everything that you have to do. There's a huge level of self-discernment that needs to take place for the individual. This is a school, this is a classroom where the answers, these are not open book tests, I guess is what I'm trying to say. These are not open book tests. And you have to study, you have to discern, you have to do a practice, a benevolent, high moral, high ethical practice in real time, and you have to practice that within the egocentric society that you're living within. You can see how this can be very, very, very difficult, especially for those of us in the Western society, but really any society, because almost all societies on this earth do not orbit around the level of Kundalini society that a person within the Kundalini, will have the best effect from. Such high ethics and such high morality sometimes can only be practiced within a society that has extremely low ethics and low morality. So, for instance, if the Kundalini is saying, okay, Chrism, I want you to go out there and I want you to be around pornography, but I don't want you to accept the pornography. But I need you to be around it, but don't participate in it. And in the Western society of the United States, pornography is a big deal. Pornography is it's in advertising, it's in film, it's in television, it's in the books. It's in our, it's in our constantly pumped into our mind. Pornography, sex. Sex with, same sex, heterosex, changing genders, all of these different levels of pornographic experience. And yet, you're not allowed to partake of that. You're there to recognize it, to be immersed within it, and yet not participate in it. You see the level of difficulty that could be. Same thing. She may come to Chrism and go, "Oh, Chrism today, no high fructose corn syrup for you, no GMO products, no inorganic products. You can only eat organic, non-GMO plants, nuts, and fruits." And so, boom, meat eating is taken off the table, and inorganic meat eating is taken off the table. Even grass-fed beef is taken off the table. Now I can only look at plants, fruits, and nuts until she comes to me again and says, "Okay, it's time for you to eat meat," and boom. Maybe I'll only be able to be allowed to eat wild caught or organic meats at that time. And so you must be able to pay attention to what grace is telling you to do inside of a society that, doesn't really care about GMO, doesn't really care about animal cruelty, doesn't really care about what they put in their bodies. High fructose corn syrup, not a problem. All these types of things. Smearing makeup on your face that's made from the oils that have been harvested from a species of animal that is almost extinct. Or, if you're living in China or in some of the Oriental countries, Asian countries, eating literally everything that walks in order to attain some sort of a sexual redemption of an elderly gentleman wanting to have an erection. Oh, let's eat the tiger's penis because that's going to make us have an erection. These types of egotistic thinking you may be immersed within and yet not allowed to participate in. Okay. This is a real quandary. You may be isolated by the Kundalini as you continue to walk around the base step of your pyramid, looking to the left and seeing society, looking to the right and seeing the translucent silver and gold disappear into the clouds of that pyramid. You may be you may be put into a position where you're allowed to be in society, but you're not allowed to work in society. Think about that. You watch your savings dwindling daily. You don't want to go anywhere in your car because you're afraid to spend the money. You have the money, but you don't want to spend the money because there is no income. You're constantly living off of your savings, day in, day out. And if you're living out here in California, that is no cheap experience. One of the cheapest rents out here in Santa Rosa, Sonoma County, California, is $1,350 a month before your utilities such as water and sewer and garbage and electricity and telephone, internet line. After that, it comes out to around $1,475 per month. That's not an easy equation. It's an equation that really is promoting a level of trust in grace. Trust that grace will provide for you the level of income that she wants you to have, rather than the level of income that your ego fears would be comfortable having. So you may not be allowed to work in society if you're not a family person. Think about that. And then what do you do with your day? What's going on in your day? It's like, what do? You get up at 7 o'clock, you take the dog for a walk. What do you do after that? Now you can go out and you can be a benevolent person. You can work at the soup kitchen. You can help elderly people at a retirement facility or an old age home, convalescent hospital. You can go into the hospital. You can be a volunteer there. You can be a volunteer at the sheriff's station. You can be a volunteer at an animal shelter. You can do these things, but you've got to do them. Sometimes the Kundalini won't let you do certain types of volunteer work because it's antithetical, or she doesn't want you to do it, because of your ego and how that might affect the new transformation of the ego that she is initiating upon you. Sometimes she just wants you to go into worship and prayer and meditation and devotion and the actions and activities that support those processes within you. Nothing else. And the whole time you're doing that, your ego is going to be screaming at the top of its lungs, no, 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 where's the money coming from? Imagine you spent your entire life putting the suit and tie on and grabbing the cup of coffee, grabbing the Mick biscuit or whatever McDonald's breakfast they have in the car, turning on the KCBS or the public radio station, checking out the weather, checking out the political environment, checking out everything on your way to work. And now you don't even have a job. And you're getting up at the same time, but there's nothing for you to do that's familiar. Oh, prayer? Meditation? Worship? You see the level of egocentric retraining that is occurring. Not easy. Not easy. Think about that as you continue to walk around your pyramid on that first step. Look out to the left and look across that suburban environment, that city skyline, and look at yourself walking around a pyramid and contemplate that. Contemplate that. All right. I'd like to introduce my co-host. Her name is Santara Kundalini. She is the reason that this radio broadcast exists, and I want to extend a heartfelt welcome to her. And come on there, Santara, from the Emerald Isle of Ireland. Hello.
I'm here. Hi, Chrism. I'm here. Hi.
Hi.
Am I okay, sound-wise?
Sound-wise, you're okay. Yes.
Okay.
Now,
cool.
I understand that Rosemary has to leave at 3:40, so let's go ahead and get her online here. Here we go.
Okay.
Hi, Rosemary.
Hello, Chrism. Hello, and hello, Amelia. Santara. Blessings to you both.
Do you have a question?
Hi.
Do you have a question, Rosemary?
No, I have an announcement.
Oh, well, go ahead. Make your announcement then.
Yes. Well, the announcement is to those regular listeners is about the seminar here in the Twin Cities, actually a little south in the town of Mankato. And Joy and I were there yesterday checking out a number of places where we actually will have the seminar. And we'll be getting that to you soon. And for Katie and Joy and myself, to be in the seminar was a transforming event. It's the beginning of this, this journey that you're talking about, Chrism. When you're saying what you're saying this evening and every Wednesday, there are opportunities there for me to connect with things. It's very powerful. And it is to know that this is the divine source within us. And a number of you know my background in church service and as a nun for 25 years, first 25 years of my life, is what I was looking for. And it was not given there in that way until a couple of years ago. I did the seminar. And so I've been on this journey in my pyramid. I'm still down and walking around it, Chrism, but thank you for your leadership.
Well, thank you for your dedication as well, Rosemary. And thank you for the announcement about the seminar there in October in the city of Mankato. And thank you,
Yes.
Rosemary, Joey, and Katie for organizing that and really pursuing that for the Kundalini community in Minnesota.
Yes. And my cell phone number is 651-329-9615 and rosemaryg@usinternet.com. Any questions you have, any comments, I'd love to hear from you.
Thank you, my dear. Thank you. And looking forward to that experience as well. Thank you. And Santara, do you have any other announcements since we're doing those right now?
Sure, Chrism. I give the announcement on behalf of Manisha. Manisha in our Facebook group is organizing Chrism's second return to Berlin. He was there last year, and he's coming again this September 15, 16, and 17. And if you want more information on this, please contact Manisha. The place you can go to on Facebook is Kundalini Seminars and Events with Chrism, and there you will see the information and Manisha's contact details. She'd love to hear from you. She's taking deposits. What has to be done before a seminar is we have to gather the deposits in order to get Chrism's ticket, because really that's the important thing. It's to enable us to get Chrism to Europe. Chrism isn't about making huge money at seminars. It's really about getting him there. And so if you're thinking of coming, we would deeply appreciate you getting in touch now and enabling us to get that part of the process up and running, getting Chrism's ticket there. That's the first step. So Kundalini Seminars and Events with Chrism on Facebook. Please check that out and contact Manisha. The other thing I would like to make the announcement about would be about donations. Chrism actually wrote something there recently on the group, and I'm just going to read it out to you. And he says, "Thank you to those of you who have donated from love for the help with the site and for new communication equipment and for the ability to have the internet." And he tells us how important this gift is, the gift that people have made through donations, and it is very, very much appreciated, and he thanks people for that. And I usually give two websites that you can go to. The first one is chrism-kundalini.blogspot.com. But I would like to note that if you're using a mobile phone, then the donate button there might not show. It might not show up on that device. It does show up on PCs. But I noticed recently with my own phone, I couldn't get the donate button. So the other website you can go to if you have a mobile phone that isn't giving you the donate button, you can go to the KundaliniSaveTheDees.com site. And there, when you click on that, you will be offered various teaching pages. So just go to one of those pages, and at the very end, you're going to see about Master Chrism. It just says about Chrism. So if you scroll down to the end of that, there's a line there that it says, for more information, blah, 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 and it says, consider making a donation, and making a donation is underlined, and that's then a live link. It's a link that will bring you into the PayPal, where you can actually either pay by card or you can pay by PayPal. So if you're in a position to donate, I would encourage you to do that. It is put to extremely good use. It is of service to so many people. It goes way beyond, giving a monetary donation. It is such a service in so many ways to people that if you are in a position to do that, it's a little bit like throwing the pebble, into the water and the ripples. Well, that's what your donation does. It goes out like a ripple in the pond, and it has a huge effect. So small donations do that. So I would really like to encourage people to go to one of those websites and make a donation. And if you can't remember any of that information, you can drop me a line and I will send that to you. Or you can go to the main group and you will see one of the posts there about donations. Whoops, Chrism, they were long announcements, sorry, but I just wanted to be a bit more specific this week. So thank you for your patience, guys.
And thank you for your announcement. It's true. The pebble you throw in that pond can be like a tidal wave to a person who's receiving the gifts of the grace that you give. And speaking of tidal waves, I'm going to move right on over to Indra. Indra has a question. Hello, Indra.
Hi, Chrism. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. No complaints.
Good.
Thank you, Suntara. I was listening on the show, and the Kundalini is definitely the boss.
Definitely.
Yes, definitely. I have a specific question for you. I did send you a picture of my bruising, and I did notice your pardon me?
Around your fifth chakra, yes.
Yes. Well, I just wanted to let you know my left leg is bruising as well. I know you did say it's normal, but can you talk about it for a couple minutes?
Yeah, with the level of energy that comes up, and your level of energy, Indra, is coming up from the bottoms of the feet, pulling up energy from the earth, basically a magnetic, energetic from the earth. It's going up through the chakra in the sole of your foot. It's being amplified by the chakra within your big toe and the other toes, but mostly by the big toe, and it's traveling up the left side of your body, almost like in a horseshoe fashion,
right?
Like coming up the left side, coming up over the top of your head, and then down the right side. And as it comes up, it has the ability to disturb the capillary function within the body, and this really is giving you an indication to make sure that your vitamin C complex is strong. Make sure that you're taking 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C, ascorbic acid, citrus, and then 500 milligrams of citrus bioflavonols, 100 to 500 milligrams if you can get it of hesperidin, and rutin, at least 100 to 200 milligrams of rutin, and all this in one capsule. And I believe now products, NOW products, you can look at that on the internet, and if you look at vitamin C complex, they have a fairly good complex that isn't overly expensive that you can partake of. And it's very important for you to partake of that, maybe 2 or 3 times with food at first, and then backing it off to once or twice a day with food once again. And you'll notice
So can I interrupt for a sec? Is it 1,000 milligrams 3 times daily?
At first, yeah. Like maybe the first, second day. And you'll notice that that's going to loosen up, your when you go to the bathroom, the number 2, when you make a poo, that's going to loosen it up. Don't be surprised. Don't be worried.
Okay.
Keep yourself hydrated.
Yes, sure I am drinking a lot of water.
Right, but I don't want it to just be tap water.
Certainly I don't drink tap water at all. It's distilled water, but I do add like Himalayan salt in the water to get my minerals.
Huh.
Is that good or no?
No, I would not do that. I'd get say a good spring water, a pure source spring water if you have it. There, you're in Canada, aren't you? And you're in Toronto.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Spring water is not a problem. I live not far from a spring, like a spring where I can get fresh spring water.
Do you get Essentia water up there? ESS.
You know what? I'm not sure.
If you can get it,
I'm gonna look into it.
It's a high pH water. Also, Smart Water is a high pH water. And I would
Right.
rather that you do that rather than adding salt to your own water. Okay. There's a level, no. And so as you participate with that, now also your natural fruit, oranges, lemons, grapefruits, great stuff. Make sure that you eat some of the white part of the peel as well, if not the whole peel. I mean, I know it's bitter and everything, but it has a lot of pectin. It has a lot of some good nutrients.
Okay. I do lemon every day.
Oh, excellent. Keep that going.
Yeah.
Keep that going. And so what the energetic will do is as it comes up, the very, very, very fine nadis of the body. And if you look at if you Google nadis, NADIS, system of the human body, and then you go into images, you're going to see some of these images where nadis basically are as energetic, like an energetic cardiovascular system for the body.
Right. Okay.
And some of them, I mean, they're smaller than a hair across, and yet they provide energy for mitosis and for all of the different functions of the body. They provide when the Kundalini comes up, that energetic system of the energetic anatomy. That level of power is going to blow some of those very, very, very tiny veins and blood vessels that the body has.
So it's actually physically blowing those veins.
Well, it's basically the veins themselves haven't received the nutrients and the exercise in order to stay healthy and intact within this type of an awakening. But she's just giving you the warning. She knows if she does something visual on you, well, you're going to, it's going to catch your attention. You're going to take care of that.
Yes. Oh, yes, I got it.
Yeah. So she wants you out there walking at least a mile or two every day.
No, I walk every single day. I do 20 minutes of deep breathing.
Do you do that Qigong move that I ask people to do, where your hands are at your side, and then as you inhale, you swoosh them up over your head as you inhale, and then as you exhale,
No, I can't say I've been doing that a lot, but I do I alternate with left, right nostril. I do the deep breathing. I do take a bath. I do walk. I walk every single day, and my diet is pretty good. But I got you because from underneath my feet, you said the toe, but I've noticed underneath my feet, it feels like a pedal, like it's almost pedaling the energy from the earth.
It's pulling it up.
My whole feet is
see
pulling
if you can
up.
Walk, I know you're in Toronto, but see if you can walk barefoot on earth, not cement.
I can do that in Toronto. I might be jailed, but I might be thrown in jail. But you know what? No, actually, I'm just outside of Toronto, east of Toronto.
Okay.
And where I'm located, I can actually get away with it.
Oh, good. Yeah. See if you can go ahead and walk barefoot and allow that energetic. Now, realize that as you pull more energetic up, more and more is going to collect in the feet, and so more capillaries, may burst, and so you may get some more bruising. Don't worry about it. Just increase your vitamin C complex intake.
Well, it's pretty ironic. It's very ironic. I actually bought vitamin C yesterday. It's the one you dissolve in water. But I picked up vitamin C yesterday.
Does it have is it a complex or just vitamin C?
It's a complex.
Oh, do you have the package near you?
Okay, yes, I do. Hang on one sec. I do. I bought it at Costco, and it actually says 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C. It's not a complex.
Good. Oh, it's not a complex.
No.
Well, that's not going to help you as much as the complex will help you.
Okay, so okay, so I can always switch this.
Yeah, get the complex. The complex is what it's a combination of nutrients rather than just one single nutrient.
It applies for all vitamins?
That does apply to all vitamins, yeah, except, very specific things like vitamin E. Even though you have D-natural tocopherol and the other type of tocopherol, I tend to ask people to go with the D-natural tocopherol if you're taking the vitamin E.
Okay.
And then, of course, if she says no meat, well, that means no mammalian meat.
Right.
Definitely no
Yes.
meat, no fish meat, these types
Yes.
of things. But sometimes the directives that the Kundalini will give you are very, very, very extremely specific. And sometimes, like what we're talking about right now, it's always been a B complex or a C complex.
Right.
Because they all work in harmony with each other within the complex.
I agree because usually whatever my body needs, I find that I have a strong craving for. More so now with my process than ever before. Like, okay, for example, I went on a 3 days straight. Like all I craved was fruits.
Good.
And that's what I ate, right?
Right.
Or I'll have a craving for a week for cucumbers, and then it will switch to something else the next week. And I always tend to go with that. Good.
Excellent. Well, so you know what to do, my dear Indra, and strengthen those capillaries. Do the vitamin C complex. Make sure you have a good vitamin B complex as well, and continue your walking and continue doing the 5 Tibetans if you aren't.
Continue doing what? Say that again.
The 5 Tibetans and the safety protocol.
Yes. Okay, will do.
Definitely do the 5 Tibetans.
Right. I'm gonna have to look it up again, refresh my memory.
Okay.
I did it in the beginning like a lot, and then I kind of sort of didn't do it. But I am going to refresh my memory. I'm going on the site and just refresh my memory a bit.
Very good, my dear. Very good.
I have one more quick question.
Sure.
So what is the feet peddling the energy? What is it about?
What is the what now?
What is what does it mean when my feet pedal the energy from the earth?
Well, basically,
like if I stand.
Yeah.
If I stand, I'm going to describe it to you. I'm standing now. If I stand and I close my eye and I let myself go, I can feel a movement in my body, and it feels like my feet is peddling the energy from the earth.
Peddling? What do you mean by peddling?
It's pulling it.
Pulling. Well, that's different.
It's pulling, sorry. So it's pulling it upward.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely correct. Sacred Feminine is pulling the energy of life, the energy of the gift of this world up your left leg, which is the Sacred Feminine side of the body, and bringing it up to let it join at your crown with Sacred Male, which is the radiance of the solar system or of the cosmos coming down, and they marry each other at the top of the head, and this is what equals the Kundalini awakening. This is part of the awakening event, and what this does.
Oh my God! Right.
This feeds the channel. This feeds the transformation of the physical into the divine physical, or the demi-goddess in your case.
Okay. And when it happens on both sides of the feet, it's the same thing, just masculine, feminine, right?
Correct.
Okay. Wow.
Correct.
Well, it's always a pleasure talking to you. I get so much from talking to you, from all your teachings. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, my dear. Have a beautiful evening.
And I'm going to listen to the rest of the show.
Very good. Very good.
Thanks.
And you're welcome. You're welcome, Indra. Quite welcome. If anybody else would like to come in or call in, The guest call-in number is area code 347. That's a New York City area code. 347-934-0026. 347-934-0026. And you can call in, and Centara will answer the phone. I'm going to go on to the chat room here. They've been chatting on the chat room. And it looks like Rachel Burnett is going out on the road, home free but not homeless, and living in the van. And let me tell you, I have been there and done that, Rachel, and blessings to you. Make sure you park in a safe place. And I want to welcome Miss Star Booker. Welcome to you, and thank you for joining the program. And it's okay to meditate for hours, Rachel. That's absolutely true. And teaching a little yoga is also good. Maybe not weird. I said something. And then spring water can still be fluorinated sometimes. Yeah, I know, like Trinity, the bottled water called Trinity, which I'm not even sure is in operation anymore. I've looked for it. I don't see it out here in California. But they had a high fluoride content within it, and I think it was fluoride. And they were very, very popular about 7-8 years ago. Now not so popular, evidently. And yes, David Vsall, I am still taking consultations at the moment. And I have received your private emails. I just haven't been able to fit it into a schedule right now. But David, let's go ahead and make a date right after this program, and I'd be more than happy to work with you there. And then Rachel continues. She said, "If I can't afford smart water all day, Himalayan salt and distilled water is what I do as well." Yeah, okay. Just do your best to stay hydrated, I guess. It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be Chrism's way all the way. I understand that. But all I can do is just kind of give you what I'm given to give people. And, Himalayan salt doesn't have everything that you need. And stevia, if you like the aftertaste that stevia gives, then so be it. I personally do not enjoy the aftertaste of stevia, and so I don't add it to anything at all. She should, the safeties. Yes, I agree, Rachel. And I believe Indra knows about the safeties. David Vsall, he also says, "I get wonderful grounding on earth grass. I find it easier than doing visualization." You can actually do both. That might be something you want to attempt. And Cole comes up and says, "There are water filters similar to Brita that can lower the acidity of water." Yes, indeed. I like the Brita system. And Rachel says there's lots of ways to make the water alkaline. The lemon does it, or you can spend thousands on machines for your kitchen. Actually, you can get a decent one for about $500, and they come with some very good filtration on it. Atlanta Seeker says the 5 Tibetans were said to be a fountain of youth that kept aging monks vigorous. Absolutely. Are these benefits directly connected to their effect of activating Kundalini, or are these separate effects? They are direct benefits that are connected to the effect of activating the Kundalini, Atlanta Seeker. It is the Kundalini that is doing this. And yes, if you activate the Kundalini then, and you practice the lifestyle of the Tibetan monk, you're eating a lot of vegetables, you're eating a lot of yak butter, you're doing a lot of exercise, you're walking up those stairs, you're doing a lot of meditation, you're doing a lot of prayer work, you're doing a lot of the things that I mentioned as we're walking around the pyramid. Those will indeed have an anti-aging effect, i.e., they will act as a fountain of youth upon a person that does that, without a doubt. And Centara is adding, add watermelon to the water is yummy and adds electrolytes to the water that are good for K. This is true. This is true. Very, very true. And this reminds me, at this time of our program, I'd like to bring Centara back on. And I'm just wondering if you had the availability to collect any questions for our audience today.
I certainly have, Chrism. I'm going over there now. I have a few that came in to my inbox. So as usual, here I go. I'm going to read those first. So
Okay.
here we go. Okay. Santara, can you please ask Chrism, what does it mean to love oneself? Most times I just do things to please others so they are happy, and that makes me happy too. But I am feeling I don't listen to myself at times, like I could do something else with that time of effort that I spend on others. Does it mean I don't love myself? How do I know I love myself fully? Any examples of what will Chrism share, please?
Having a personal discipline that is for you specifically. So if you do the safety protocols where you're forgiving others and yourself, you're becoming more tolerant, more patient, more unconditionally loving, and these types of activities, as they propel you into the Kundalini, they're a definite gift of love for yourself, especially as you condition yourself to do them daily, if not all the time. Like the emotional behaviors that the safeties produce within a person, these are noble qualities that can be expressed all the time. That is demonstrating a love for yourself. Giving to others, because as you give a healing, so do you receive a healing. That is demonstrating love for yourself. We demonstrate love for ourselves way beyond the constraints of egocentric thinking about, well, I want that candy bar, therefore I'm going to get that candy bar, therefore that's showing love for myself because I'm giving my ego his or her way, therefore I'm showing love for myself. But Kundalini goes far beyond that. Far beyond going, well, geez, I just need to go to the movies, or oh my gosh, I just need to have an ice cream cone, or I just need to buy myself that new purse or that new dress or that piece of clothing or that golf club or whatever it is that a person loves. It goes far beyond that. It goes into giving that you may receive, giving that the person who is giving may receive. I was talking with the Minnesota Kundalini community this past Monday, and one of the big teachings that the Kundalini in me was extolling to them was that if you want a healing, if you have a terrible, terrible disease and you want a healing, the first thing you must do is give people a healing. You must give in order to receive. And as you give that love, so do you receive that love right back into you. It's crucial. It's a crucial equation. You must give love in order to receive love. And if you give that love, then it's an automatic. It's an automatic that you will receive it too. Just keep giving that charity, that love, that kindness, that forgiveness, that tolerance, that patience, that trust. Keep giving the selfless acts of service and the selfless acts of assistance to other people, and not just people. Do it for animals. Do it for plants. I walk very gingerly. Sometimes I'm guided to walk very, very gingerly because I don't want to impede the growth of the baby flowers or the baby, what other people would call weeds, coming up. Sometimes when I'm walking the dogs, we're out in this wild area and you see the stand of the newly germinated green grass standing so straight and serene and beautiful, in its first emergence from the earth. Other people would be thinking, well, God, they need a weed eater. But I don't think that way. I look at it and say, oh my gosh, that is so beautiful. I want to take a picture of it. So that is showing love for yourself too. Everything that you do from a Kundalini standpoint that is of beneficial qualities for other people and for other life on this world is a direct reflection of love for yourself too. Over.
Thanks, Chrism. I posted this show on the Kundalini Matters page, and somebody asked a question there, and this is it, Chrism. How is Kundalini related to the fourth state called Turiya?
What's his name? State. Ospolsky or whatever, it's some Russian name. The fourth state called Turiya. Well,
yes.
I mean, I don't care what you call it. I mean, the fourth state is an assumption that it's a way of dividing up the states of being that correlate with a certain individual who decided to split it up that way. And the ancient Hindu split it up in another way, and all these little organizational equations tend to try to explain the force of the divine in a very, very specific linear way, so that linear people can understand it. A plus B equals C, and you don't really get to do that with Kundalini. A plus B does not equal C most of the time. It's beyond the contemplative or conceptual abilities of the human mental awareness to be able to conceptualize an accurate understanding of the state of the human divine. Now, the Hindu, oh boy, the ancient Sanskrit. Sorry about that.
Not me.
That was Vincent calling.
Hi, Vincent. It's reading.
No,
if
he's
you're listening
not
to it
listening.
later.
He's not listening. He was just
maybe,
calling it.
Maybe in the archive. Yeah.
The ancient Sanskrit people, which are the forerunners to the ancient Hindu, they divided it up into, you got Maya, which is the state of illusion, and then you got, the different states as the Kundalini goes up through the system, and they pigeonhole those states. You got Samskara, you've got the, I think the Tibetans are looking at, I hardly ever use these terms, Nirvana, and it goes on, so on and so forth. And the fourth state is just Ospolsky's, and I'm murdering his name. I apologize, but it is this gentleman's way of dividing the states of existence into a particular format that gives people a linear way of recognizing what this state is comprised of. And I frankly don't think that there is anybody that is wearing skin right now that can do that. Kundalini's way beyond the mental projected, egotistic supported ideologies of what actually comprises anything within a Kundalini specification. When I go into the divine state, I have to go into it from a very, very clear, what's the word? I don't have any expectation at all. I just go in. And it comes through. And you're surrounded, at least for me, from my experience, I'm surrounded by light. I'm surrounded by grace. But it's not a light that you just see with your eyes. It's a light that you feel with your soul, with your bones, with every cell of your being. It's just it's a convulsive experience. But yet I've done it so much for 28 years or 29 years now that I can just do it. I just go there and it comes. Early on, you get this, you go up into this wall of light and you just kind of disappear. You die, basically. You die for a moment You don't exist. And within that death of the ego and that death of the informational intake systems and judgment-based systems of the human mental complex, you're able to receive that which you cannot receive unless those areas are not operating in the same way. And a micro death is kind of what I would call it. It's a micro death and a macro hyperventilation of life. It's the two that are one and the one that is two, and that's a very, very difficult experience to explain to people who have not had it. And so I understand why these people and religions and cultures would try to articulate the different stages of the Kundalini experience in order to explain it to people. But what I basically do in my explanation of it is because I know the karma is going to be very, very different for each person. And therefore, because the karma is different, the way they're coming into the experience is going to be very different too. And so I basically teach people to surrender to the energetic pull of the Kundalini first and foremost. And then as you work hard to just surrender your ego expectations, surrender your fears, surrender your, your goals, and surrender your competition, and, surrender the things that are blocking you from receiving divine infusion. As you do that, the Kundalini matrix itself will form around you, your karma, and your level of surrender, and form an entry point for you as you do that work. I don't know if that answered her question about Turiya and the fourth state, but
it does, Chrism.
It may have answered about the 100th or the 1,000th state.
I think that was a wonderful explanation. Thank you very much. I'm going to alert the person to listen into that. Thank you, Chrism. So the next question that was sent to me is, what is the secret to deep meditation, and can meditation cure a person of addictions?
Yes, the meditation can cure a person of addictions. Kundalini can cure it even faster. What are the benefits? Is that what they said? What was that first question?
What is the secret to deep meditation?
The secret of deep meditation is, first of all, wanting to do a meditation at all. Getting into a position where you can do a meditation. And the secret, in my opinion, the secret of meditation is consistency. You must do it every day. You must do it every day for a certain amount of time. I meditated just to see if I could do it. I made an agreement with myself to meditate every day for a year. And then I was at a loss because I didn't have a place where I could get away from people at a very specific time for an hour, until I found the outdoor aluminum garden shed filled with black widow spiders. And I put a chair right in the middle of all these black widow spiders, about 12 of them, I think, large ones. And I said to them, I won't bother you if you don't bother me. And they never did bother me. Not even once did I even feel a creepy, crawly, poisonous sting come upon me. And I sat in that aluminum garden shed, about, I think it's like an 8-foot by 8-foot garden shed. And I meditated every day for a year. Consistency is the secret to deep meditation, because as you're consistent with it, you go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And it can indeed affect a person that has addiction. For sure. Absolutely. Without a doubt. Over.
Okay. Thank you, Chrism. Next question. Can you please ask Chrism, what is the light body? Is this real?
The light body is basically another name for your energetic anatomy, and yes, it is very, very real. Every cell in your body gives off a luminescent radiance. Every cell. So you've got about, typically the average human person has about 17 to 26 trillion cells that comprise the normal human body. So that's 17 to 26 trillion luminescent particles of light. This includes your bone cells, your marrow cells, your brain cells, your skin cells, hair cells, all of these cells, and the new cells that are constantly developing and the old cells that are constantly dying. They all contain a level of luminescence, and that luminescence correlates in many ways with the skeletal anatomy and the neural anatomy and the cardiovascular anatomy. So, for instance, when I say the cardiovascular anatomy, you have rivers of light that are flowing through your veins, constant rivers of light. When you have an infection, well, you have a different set of fluidic radiance that is going through your body, another different river of light. And the hormones are another completely different river of light that is moving through the cardiovascular river of light, and it's a different hue, a different radiance. And so the human being literally is a lit up organism. It is so lit up. It is a walking being of luminance, homo luminosus, you might call it. And that homo luminosus is everybody has this. And in some cases, if you've had the Kundalini, after this physical body dies, the Kundalini luminance still stays with every particle of that body. So you come up to a person like Saint Teresa of Avila, if you look at her skeleton, boom, it's luminescent. If you look at Saint, what's her name over there of the place in France? Help me out here. Bernadette. If you look at Saint Bernadette, they've got her body. They have her body somewhere in France in a storage unit or something like that, and she has yet to rot like another body. And she died in 1858. They don't want people to see that. It takes too much power off of the Catholic Church. But, when a person has the Kundalini, it changes the physiological structure of each cell. And the modus operandi of the change is the change from a physical-based system of initiation of life and then the cessation of life. It changes from that system to a divine-based system, which does not have the same qualifications of running out of energy. Divine energy is permanent energy. It never changes. It doesn't go out. The light does not go out, ever. And this is what each of you that has the Kundalini flowing through you right now, this is the process that has been initiated upon you. This is the transformation from Homo sapien to Homo luminosus. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. What role does Sadhana, play in Kundalini awakening?
Was that a ride?
Did you answer that before? But anyway, did I what?
What is the role of Dhamma from Hannah? From Hannah? Hannah's Dhamma?
Sadhana, Sadhana. You know that. Oh.
Sadhana, I understand. What is
Okay.
What is the role of Dana? Said Hannah. Well, the role of Hannah, said Dana, is to eat a banana.
Yes, that. In Kundalini awakening.
Sadhana is a practice, basically. It's just a practice. And the role is for constant refinement. Constant refinement. And this is, remember, you said within the Kundalini context. The Kundalini context is not the same as doing a sadhana from the Kundalini yoga context, or from the Turiya state of Uspensky or Usposky, whatever his name is. It's not from those contexts at all. It's from the Kundalini context. And the Kundalini context, while you're still wearing skin and walking around in this beautifully lit up body, is to constantly refine the Christmas tree that you are. That lit up Christmas tree that you are. Constantly refine it through the practice of the noble behaviors, such as unconditional love and forgiveness and tolerance and patience and trust and truth and honesty and selfless service, things of that nature. This is what allows for a constant refinement of the individual towards a greater level of luminosis from their Kundalini into the cellular structures of their physical being. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. So I'm on to the group now. That's the end of the other questions. So these are from the groups. And Katie wrote a post today, Chrism, and it was about, I don't know if you read it or not, it was about somebody who lived near her that may have Kundalini. And I suppose it was really, there was a few things in it, but, how much should we share with those around? She says, it is true that everything is an opportunity. But my focus at the moment is about responsibility. I struggle how much to share with those around me. This lady, like for example, that may have Kundalini activated. And more often than not, I share nothing, and maybe that's okay too. Could you speak a little bit about that? If we meet somebody who may be Kundalini awakened, and how do we go about, we'll say, having a conversation? Is it okay? How do we do that?
Well, first of all, you have to feel whether it's appropriate to mention that to an individual. Like, I see that Katie's ready. The lady that lives upstairs from me had a freak accident many years ago, and from that it sounds like a spontaneous early Kundalini activation. And she was, in my opinion, misdiagnosed with schizophrenia. And yet, what is schizophrenia? Schizophrenia is basically you're hearing voices, or you're having recognition of discarnate consciousness that nobody else can see but you, or hear but you. And the Kundalini can indeed open that up. You have the availability for broad spectrum telepathy, which is what that is, as opposed to narrow spectrum telepathy, which is just, say, your mind to my mind. Broad spectrum means the entire spectrum. I don't know if it's total spectrum, but it is broad spectrum. And if that broad spectrum includes the ability to communicate with discarnate consciousness, well, then you're going to have some very strong experiences of what the MDs would call schizophrenia. And just a few weeks ago, Katie writes, she decided to go off her meds, and I was concerned being so close to her. She sleeps right above me, and the floors are so thin I can hear every step. But I was concerned, while she was off meds, that the entities would be talking to her. And Katie, you're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. Telling her who knows what, and that is also correct, because most of the entities, over 95% of the entities that will talk to a person with Kundalini are not being helpful. They are lying in one way or another. And being on or off meds, attracting who knows what. But the funny thing is, her movements were as though she were high and in a blissful state. I think her daughter noticed and talked her into going to the hospital and getting on meds. That's amazing, man. You're just looking too happy, Mom. You better go to the hospital. No. Oh, gosh, no. Stop smiling that way, Mom. Don't smile.
Yeah.
I like you somnambulistic. Anyway, she is back on them now. She is really a sweet person. Then outside a couple of days ago, she mentioned her kidneys being enlarged, but the doctors didn't note any reason for it. I thought, aha! That is a symptom. Chrism has mentioned before. I told her it is the Kundalini and have mentioned in brief conversation to her about the Kundalini, but not too much because I'm never sure how much to say. I wondered about entities being here because of this, although I'm sure I too draw these at times. So it is an opportunity I need to look closer at. I have felt at home around folks with disabilities, but she is taking it to a new level. Well, first of all, Katie, I want to congratulate you for having the kind, caring compassion to reach out and to help that person. So many, many and beautiful, loving kudos to you, Katie, for doing that. Let your Kundalini guide you. And I think I felt a very strong guidance from your Kundalini in what you did. And I think that is good. And forget about the entities. And forget about her entities coming over to you. Even though that can happen, you have a very, very, very different perspective on the Kundalini. You recognize it's Kundalini. You have, a very service-oriented mindset. You are practicing the safety protocols. And so in many ways, you're forming a state of inclusive separation between yourself and discarnate consciousness. And inclusive separation means that you're not actively trying to block them. You're just doing the noble behaviors. You're practicing the noble behaviors. And by doing that, the quality of love behind the noble behaviors themselves, amplified by your Kundalini, will not allow them to interrupt your process and will still allow you to observe their their activities upon other people. So inclusive separateness is what I'm meaning there. And so by and large, Katie, directly to answer your question, you've got to feel how appropriate it is. The more you feel, the more you communicate the desire to give service to an individual that you suspect may have Kundalini, much of that is going to depend on what the Kundalini in you wants you to feel. And from that feeling, you can determine what you feel is the most appropriate thing to do or not do. Feel it. Discern through your heart. Discern through your love. Discern through your Kundalini, which communicates the best as it flows on a level of love.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Chrism. Next question is, I feel overheating of my head, too much thoughts. Everything is so sharp and powerful. My brain is working too much, maybe. This is like a atomic train explosion. Some suggestions, please.
Yeah, this is a person that's newly activated to the Kundalini. This comes from a person that has never had it before and is really, struggling to make sense of it. They don't know so much about surrendering yet. And so, they're equating it to, oh gosh, maybe I'm using my body in such a way that is causing it to bring this heat to me. When in fact, it's the newly activated Kundalini within them that is bringing the heat to them. And later on, they may feel the extreme cold and frigidity of the sacred feminine as well. And this is normal, natural symptoms of the Kundalini, which you don't want to try to turn into a problem. I notice a lot of people, they work so hard to activate the Kundalini. They're doing this, they're doing that, they're meditating, they're, doing yoga every day. Finally, it activates, and it's just like, oh my God, what are all these symptoms? I must be sick. I've got to, oh my gosh, I'm overheating. I must be thinking too much. Oh my gosh, I'm too cold. What's wrong with me? When in fact, they have struggled for years, in many cases, to activate the Kundalini. And now that the Kundalini is here, all they're trying to do is to make the symptoms go away. Think about this very clearly, those of you who are listening to this. Why you want to activate the Kundalini. If you're not willing to surrender to its force upon you, if you're going to try to just control it by thinking that something's wrong because what you have been trying to have done is actually being done, and now you're not comfortable with it because it's an unknown quality to you because it was just something you were practicing, never expecting to have happen. But, oh, my God, now it's happening. Why are you activating the Kundalini at all? Build your bridge into the divinity, step by step and slowly and consciously. Do your research. Know what the symptoms are. Don't just sit there and do Kundalini yoga till the cows come home and then stress out about having your Kundalini activated because you were doing Kundalini yoga. Not that Kundalini yoga will activate you, but it's just I'm just using that as an example. A person practiced the Kundalini awakening safety protocols. Well, that will do it. And then all of a sudden it's done, and then it's like, oh my, I feel so much. Oh, I'm just so hot. I just can't. Oh my gosh, where's the air conditioner? I just got to cool down. Let me get a popsicle here. I just got to cool down. It's not going to help. Heat outside of the environmental standard is part of the Kundalini equation. So is the extreme cold. So are some of the bruising, like what Indra experienced, and so is sometimes seeing an entity. Sometimes the Kriyas come and you're put in yoga positions on the floor without your permission, against your will, and yet the only recourse you have is to do them. Wanting, I guess. Wanting is very different from having. Wanting is very different from having. And as you do these practices, like with the people that try to do the third eye opening, oh my God, what a mistake. Wanting is very different from having. But unfortunately with Kundalini, once it's activated or awakened, it's there. And you're living with it no matter what your ego wants. So be very careful. I think this individual will be okay. This person who's asking the question. I think he'll be okay, and I think that he'll come into an alignment with what is actually happening with him, and he'll be okay. But many people are not okay. Many people have what happens to Katie Paulson's Galarno's friend upstairs above her. They're immediately taken to the hospital. They're put on the heaviest tranquilizers available, and that's where they stay, in that little chemical cage for the rest of their life. Do your research. If you're doing this consciously, do your research. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. Next question. The subject of stigmata. Is there any association to Kundalini?
Well, yeah. Christ, if you're really, it's like abracadabra. I create as I speak, right? If you're a very sincere and resolute Christian, and hi, keep it this. We'll go for a walk right after this. It's okay. You can't go now, though. If you're a resolute Christian and you have the Kundalini, either in a conscious form or unconscious form, you can literally create holes in your hand that correspond with the nail holes of the Christ. Now, typically this is a creation that comes from the healing chakras in the palm of the hand. Now, the Christ was not hung by the palms of the hand. The Christ was hung by the wrist. The nails were hammered into the wrist. You see. Otherwise, the hands would just tear off. The Romans didn't want the hands to just tear off. They wanted everybody to see that person dying slowly on that cross. They used it as a way to keep social order. And so, but the Bible and other things say, well, they pounded, the iron nail through the palm of the hand. Well, that has a very esoteric meaning, with that. But I probably shouldn't get into that. I'll just deal with the bleeding from the palms. And so, as you see that and you have the Kundalini equation upon you, literally the stigmata on the palms and the feet can begin to flow. And they won't flow to the point where you're losing the blood, seriously, like having a bleed out. But they'll flow enough for you to see it and recognize it and align yourself with the teachings of the Christ. Kundalini enjoys the teachings of the Christ. Kundalini enjoys the teachings of the Buddha. Kundalini enjoys the teachings of Ahura Mazda. Kundalini enjoys the teaching of all the different shamanic deities and religious systems and non-shamanic deities and religious systems, as long as they correspond with the noble qualities that are espoused through the Kundalini into the individual. So you can have bleeding come through your palms, and you can have the bleedings in your feet and your ankles as well. You can also literally bleed from the forehead as you wear the crown of thorns that was ostensibly forced upon Christ. But you've got to believe it enough, and you've got to be able to manifest that through your energetic anatomy. And it will manifest. Over.
And Chrism, I remember in my process having, they weren't stigmata, but I wondered, was I getting it because it was like energetic stigmata. It's what you're talking about. I didn't understand it at the time about the chakras in the palms of my hand, but it was as if there was holes in the center of the palm of my hand and energetic bleeding in inverted commas. I could feel the flow from there very, very strongly.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. The stigmata can be of an energetic nature for sure.
The next question, Chrism, is why is Kundalini highly referred to as a feminine persona? Seems weird to me. It's an energy and it doesn't have an ego or persona, ?
Well, it does have a personification. It is a personification of a sacred gender. That's the closest that the human mind can really come to it, because when it joins with the sacred masculine, it becomes the two that are one, the two genders that become one supreme, divine, double gender or singular non-gender, the two that are one and the one that is two. And so it is referred to typically following the gender identifications of sacred male and sacred feminine. And as that is followed, it follows through by having the sacred marriage on the crown, the merging of the two that become that one at the crown. And so it is both correct and an assumption at the same time. So it is just another way for people of a linear mindset to be able to associate happenings within their own gender and within their own marital understandings of what it is to mix together or to merge together. It allows those people a level of understanding that can help them on their Kundalini journey. Over.
Thanks. Master Chrism, I'm speaking languages I do not understand, and it's automatic. It's like I'm publicly speaking and singing and waving my body with languages I don't understand again. What's happening?
What's happening is that you may be actually speaking a language that you don't understand, but it is saying certain things that is helping you to come into a level of balance with your Kundalini. But the other thing is you may just be channeling specific entities that have their own language format that you may not be aware of. So, for instance, you may not be aware of ancient Babylonian, but you may be speaking it. You may not be aware of the ancient language of the Etruscans of northern Italy, but you may be speaking it because you may have had a past life when you were there. So there are many, many vectors of intentional language, foreign language expression from a Kundalini activated or awakened individual. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're speaking in tongues like the Christians like to think. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're possessed. What it basically can mean is that you are drawing from an experience that you had that correlates with the level of Kundalini that you're having right now, and the Kundalini is allowing that experience and that level of language expression to come through you at that time. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. And the next question is slightly associated. It says, I have Kriyas, twitching, vocalizations, waving of arms, fidgeting, facial and mouth movements, etc. And I have gotten a new Kriya tonight. I'm not here to brag, but to ask, what is the purpose of arching my spine and sticking out my stomach and pressing my chin to my neck or throwing my head back? What does it mean when one gets a new kind of Kriya?
It means that there's a new level of infusion that's coming into the person, and that the person needs to just surrender to that Kriya and allow it to do its work. It will gently subside after a while, and perhaps another one will take its place. Over.
Thank you. For the last 2 days, I feel like I'm walking around with an energy charge, but only on my tongue. It's almost a burnt feeling, and it makes food taste funny. Am I supposed to do something with this, or am I supposed to just chalk it up to another one of those strange things the Kundalini does to us to make us more ready for the Kundalini energy?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that first part.
Okay, so the person is walking around with an energy charge, but only on the tongue.
Oh, that person should be having. Yeah. That person should be moving the tongue tip to behind the upper front teeth to connect the tongue tip. There is a master switch, and when you put it behind the upper front teeth, you connect the cranial channels to the thoracic channels, and that feeling there at the tip of the tongue, you can actually get a tongue burn from that. I had that too. And you need to really keep that tongue tip behind the upper front teeth on that flesh right there. And, unless you're coughing, sneezing, kissing, talking, eating, or doing some other necessary function with your mouth, you keep that tongue tip behind those upper front teeth. Over.
Thank you, Chrism. And the last question is one about somebody wrote in about their teacher, and the teacher told this person that the movements that she was experiencing aren't necessary and are just misqualified muscle memory from past traumas. And she's wondering why he would not allow them. Is it possible for the Kundalini to flow through all areas eventually without the Kriyas?
Well, yeah, that is what will happen at the end of the Kriya stage. But if that teacher that this person has does not know about the Kundalini, and so they're just kind of making up like a mundane excuse for having a Kriya experience, and they would do best by finding a teacher that actually has the Kundalini experience, knows what they're talking about, rather than relying on mundane information, and calling it, muscle memory from a tragic or traumatic past. That's not going to be helpful to this individual. Over.
Okay, Chrism. As we say here in Ireland, Shinna will. That's it. Finished.
All right. Well, Shinna will.
No more questions.
And I just want to say to David Beastall that if you have Skype, David, I'll Skype with you right after the program here. And I just want to thank you, Santara, for allowing this program to exist. I would like to thank the people that called in, the people that are listening in the archives. Hello to you. I'd like to thank everybody who joined us in the chat room. And if you have any questions about the Kundalini, you can feel free to contact me at kfireforall@yahoo.com, KFIREFOR @yahoo.com, or you can go to the YouTube channel, which is Chrism.Kundalini on the YouTube network We also have groups on Facebook, Kundalini Awakening exclamation points, Kundalini Awakening Systems 1, a private group, Kundalini Awakening Systems 2, a closed group, Kundalini Awakening Systems 3, an open group, and Kundalini People, an open group. And we also have a couple of healing groups, both public and private, called Kundalini Healing Public and Kundalini Healing Private. Any last words, Santara?
My last word is to just again say to people, feel free to make a donation. Very gratefully received, KundaliniSafeties.com. At the end of the page, we would love to hear from you. Thank you very, very much, Chrism. And goodbye to everybody, and see you again next week, and goodbye to the chat room as well. Thank you, Chrism.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we will see you next week.
Und nun zum Wetter. Heute werden es frühlingshafte MX5 Grad. Die Regenwahrscheinlichkeit liegt bei unter MX5% und die Sonne scheint mindestens MX5 Stunden.
Nichts wie Roadster. Am besten im legendären Mazda MX5. Schon ab 109 € monatlich. Jetzt mehr Infos zum Angebot auf Mazda.de. Mazda.